Hello students, welcome to week 3 for Com 560, Communication Ethics. This week we're looking at communication ethics and epistemology and how it relates to the course content. Our week 3 agenda tells us we're reading chapters 4 and 10 and watching 2 videos related to epistemology and ethics. We're also completing discussion board number 3, which has an original post date, so it's due on Friday with your replies due on Sunday. And your philosophical reflection number 3 is also due on Sunday. Keep in mind, as we move through some of this material, we're almost done wrapping up our philosophical reflections. Your philosophical reflection number 3 will cover the information just like it did in the first 2. It'll be approximately 3 pages in APA using all APA formatting and citation, and we'll have at least 2 outside sources. This week, you will explain the general idea of epistemology. You'll describe in detail all the tenets of this philosophical branch, how it relates to philosophy and ethics, describe and explain the intersection and relationship of communication ethics and epistemology, and provide examples of how they intersect and relate to each other. You'll also share your own personal epistemology, what is your perspective on this branch of philosophy, and how it relates to ethics. Again, you'll find a scholarly paper or research study that relates to this branch and include it within your paper and provide a reflection of the study and how it relates to the philosophical branch as well. Make sure you have 2 outside sources to support all your information and have a cover page, abstract, running headers, references, and all of that great stuff. As we move into discussion number 3, it's important to know that after you've read all of the chapters and handouts, as well as watch the lecture and videos assigned this week, you will construct at least a 400-word response looking at any communication theory that addresses interpersonal or communication behaviors and describe that theories and its contribution to the field of communication studies. You'll also look at the theory's implicit or explicit communication assumptions related to communication ethics. You'll look at what good or goods does this theory provide or promote? What are the implications of this theory for the study of communication as well as communication ethics? And what relevance does this theory have to any philosophical branch of ethics studied over the last 3 weeks? Teleology, axiology, epistemology, and ontology. You'll provide at least one scholarly source besides the textbook as an example to support your assertions, so your argument. It's very, very important that you keep that in mind. As we look at epistemology and communication this week, you'll see that epistemology really is the inquiry to what knowledge is, what can be known, and what lies beyond our understanding. It examines reason, truth, and experience. So Littlejohn and Foss, some noted calm scholars, Geisler and Feinberg, noted calm philosophers, and Immanuel Kant, noted philosopher, all pose similar notions to this idea. They tell us all 3 of them agree, that knowledge does not exist without experience. Specifically, Littlejohn and Foss states that knowledge does not exist before experience. And Geisler and Feinberg and Kant both posit that knowledge begins with experience. Thus, we need to know that experience must come before knowledge is attained. Communication experiences create and shape our knowledge. Not only that, communication creates experiences. For example, noted calm scholar Peters stated that true communication entails a communication sharing of inner experience, thus providing that communication is the catalyst to birth knowledge. It's really important to keep that in mind. As we look at this, we can compare it from a rationalist, constructivist, and empiricist review to kind of see where this all relates to it. We can look at it from a rational perspective, knowing that rationalists argue that knowledge arises out of the power of the mind to know truth. It puts ultimate faith in the human mind to ascertain truth. Empiricists argue that knowledge arises in perception. That is, we experience the world and see what is going on. Constructivists argue that people create knowledge to function pragmatically in the world. These perspectives lend themselves to the discovery of knowledge through communication, since communication provides the mechanism to attain knowledge from experiences. It's constructed and useful in the development of epistemology or an epistemological perspective. The phenomenological perspective lends itself to an epistemological foundation for communication. Since phenomenology draws on first-person experiences to shape the way we experience things around us, Communication plays a vital role in shaping experience and providing a phenomenological perspective. Since phenomenology is drawing on first-person experiences to shape the way we experience things around us. So, for example, experiential learning is very pivotal in this idea of epistemology and communication. It provides a method to dialogue and to send transmissions, or to use Peter's 3 thoughts about communication to gain knowledge that communication is an inner experience and is a communion of sharing those experiences. For example, you can teach a child something all day long, provides tons of perspectives about how to do that. For example, throwing a baseball, or making a basket in a basketball hoop, or shooting a goal for soccer, whatever that may be. You can teach them and provide tons of perspectives on that all day long. But until that child actually attempts to do that on their own, they will not gain experience with it. They will not learn through experience, and they will not gain knowledge about that topic. It's very, very important to keep that in mind. Additionally, it's important to know that epistemology and communication form this indirect form of communication. It's where indirect communication really, really comes together. It's where children can learn through experience to gain knowledge, an epistemological approach to learning, of course. But the parent itself or the teacher itself communicates indirectly to the students what the knowledge is. However, knowledge is not gained until experience happens. So as we look at this, it's important to kind of know and recap that epistemology is the inquiry to what knowledge is, what can be known, and what lies beyond our understanding. It examines reason, truth, and experience. Communication creates that experience. As we know, true communication entails a communion of sharing inner experience. Thus, communication will provide the catalyst to birth knowledge and the inquiry into epistemology and developing our own epistemological perspectives. That's very, very important to keep in mind as we move through ethics and we consider some ethical situations. As we get into the later weeks, the first 3 weeks, we've been focusing heavily on philosophy and ethics. Now we'll be moving into the later weeks that actually applying some of those knowledge into some more communicative ethics cases and things of that nature. If we look at one of the chapters we're reading this week, chapter 4 tells us about the communication ethics praxis. As we look at studying communication ethics to communicative practice with attention, it's important to know that there are 3 metaphors of communication ethics praxis. The first one is common sense. The commonly understood, taken for granted assumptions about the way the world works and expected communicative behaviors one will meet in navigating that world in daily life. In the taken for granted and the historical moments that is common sense is no longer common, some form of communication theory provides a public common sense that drives ideas and communication ethics and engagement. Learning, which is the second metaphor, is without a single understanding of common sense. Learning and understanding differing standpoints is pragmatic communication ethics action. Theories, the third metaphor, is public common sense, public roadmaps, ways to see, know, and understand that broaden and narrow our insight. It's important to know that theories provide us with the framework to understand how and ways that humans communicate. Today, we cannot assume that common sense emerges as a natural communicative act upon which we all agree. Multiple understandings of what is good and coexists in public can vary significantly. It's important to know that communication ethics and theories articulate a conceptual roadmap for public decision making, pragmatically defining common sense as public admission and accountability. As you go through the chapter, you'll see sections related to each 3 of those: common sense, learning, and theories. The chapter itself will provide some ideas of ethical theories and such. However, we're going to spend our time focusing this week on looking at communication theories related to where ethical situations could arise. That's why you're asked in your discussion board number 3 to look at interpersonal communication theories or communication theories that result in communication behaviors. If you're at all confused on how to approach that and you've researched it and you can't really figure out where to go, do get in touch with me. I will point you in the right direction as to which theories may be of use for this discussion board. To recap, it's important to know that we are reading chapters 4 and 10. We're watching an epistemology video as well as an ethics video. We're completing discussion board number 3, which is due on Friday, with replies due on Sunday. and completing philosophical reflection number 3 as well, which is due on Sunday. If you have any questions, I look forward to interacting with you, and I pray that you all have a blessed week. God bless.